gonna take on the world. Standing up tall, we gotta make it our own. No waiting around. Winners would never look down. No one can stop us, we got it. The future is right in our hands. Give it 100%. We gonna take on the world. Yeah, we gotta move. Speaking the truth. Yeah, paying our dues. We making the news. Yeah, we hitting the roof. No, we don't wanna lose. Diamond is shaking the walls. We gotta break all the rules.
What's going on, everybody? Another edition of the Jaguar. I'm one of your hosts, Matthew Grieve, joined by the other host, Mr. Josh Allen.
That's me.
So
So I've been told.
yeah, if Josh Allen were to be sacked by another Josh Allen, it would be him.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I have as many sacks. I had as many sacks on Sunday as the Josh Allen who plays for the Jags. So.
That's the entire Jags defense, actually.
Yeah, not good. Not good. But I tell you, I'm feeling good, though, because we're back in the realm of normal expectations. The Jags have once again freed me from thinking that they're not going to suck. So, you know, I'm happy to be in familiar territory, weirdly.
I guess there is a little bit of freedom when you just kind of give up, I guess, right?
Yeah, you know, if you don't care, you can't get your feelings hurt. So that's where we are.
I don't have feelings. Except for the Jaguars. Those are the only feelings that are allowed. So anyways, this is week 6 that we're talking about now. We're sitting at 2-4.
Yep.
If my mathematics are correct, we're sitting at 2-4. Just visited the Colts, who were down multiple key players on their team on both sides of the ball. Going to the game, I was expecting us to not necessarily walk away, shutting them out 24-0, because I do believe in home field advantage to an extent. But I did not expect what happened to happen. Starting off now, if we look, so let's start off with the Jaguars offense. Going to the game, I was expecting us to do well. I still think we're going to do well, hopefully, moving forward. In my opinion, we're starting off with Trevor Lawrence. I know a lot of people were like, man, he was so efficient. He didn't throw any interceptions. He ran for a couple touchdowns. When I look at his stat line, 20 completions off of 22 attempts. I mean, that's great and all, right? He threw for 165 yards. You know who used to do that all the time? Not Blake Bortles. The first
God.
Sunshine.
Oh no! Don't say it.
Freaking Blaine Gabbert.
I don't want to.
Does that not? Me personally, that's what we had with Blaine Gabbert. This guy.
Yeah, I think Blaine Gabbert had those stats minus the running touchdowns, right?
Right.
I think Blaine Gabbert could do things with his legs. I don't think that. I don't think that Blaine Gabbert had like some sort of Tom Brady-esque performance, but he didn't cost the team the game this past Sunday. It was not his fault that they lost, which was the case the previous 2 weeks to an extent. So I think I'm thankful for that. I mean, it looked like the offensive game plan. They're trying to figure out the best version of the offense that they can be, depending on the situation, right? And they ran all over the Colts. Like, they just murdered the Colts. They ran all over the Colts with guys who I didn't even remember were on the team until the man had the ball. What's his name? Shiesty or Shusty or whatever the kid's name is. There you go. Hasty, Shusty, whatever. See, that's what I'm saying. I mean, listen, no disrespect to him, but like, he's one of those guys that you forget that he's there until he does something, right? Like, he's not a big name player. He's not a star. And more power to him. He rattled off a touchdown for like 50 yards. But I mean, the offense did what they had to do. And the offense, that 10-minute drive towards the end of the game, that was, listen, it wasn't, the greatest show on turf, but that was a masterful, it did look like Trevor was in control of the offense. He knew what to do. He understood the plays that were being called, and he was confident that he could pull them off when they were running or throwing, right? Like they just seemed like they'd come back down to earth a little bit, and weren't playing so tight like it felt like the last couple weeks. But I mean, I don't know if last Sunday, means that Trevor Lawrence is going to be the next Peyton Manning. But like I said, he didn't lose the game. That was the defense.
Yeah, he didn't lose the game, but he also didn't win the game, and that's what you're expecting out of a generational talent. Now, we claim him to be generational talent. Not once have we seen Trevor Lawrence come out on Twitter or the media anywhere saying, "Hey, I'm the generational talent." Right? This was bestowed upon him by us fans, and
He's not arrogant. Yeah.
Granted, he did that to himself by winning and winning and winning and winning until he came to the NFL. But yeah, he didn't lose us the game, but he didn't win us the game, which is for me personally disappointing. Again, I felt like I was seeing Blaine Gabbert on the field because Blaine Gabbert, love the guy ish. I don't know. I feel like Blaine Gabbert could have thrown the ball 100 times and he would still throw for under 200 yards. And
Yeah, I think that I will say the one difference is Blaine Gabbert played in a lot of games where the Jags were down by like 20 points, right? So
Yeah.
he was facing a lot of defenses that were, backed off the receivers and just trying to keep the team from scoring rather than racking up yards. And a lot of that happened too with Blake Bortles. A lot of Blake Bortles stats, I love the guy, but were garbage time stats.
Garbage time, yeah.
And I don't think that Trevor's stats on Sunday were garbage time stats. No. But again, it feels like the same Jaguars in the sense that there's always something goes wrong that didn't go wrong the week before, right?
Yeah.
So the week before, the offense can't get it together. The defense did their job. They didn't hold them to a shutout, but they kept the Texans low enough where the offense should have been able to score. Just one touchdown changes the whole outcome of that game, and it's like they reverse roles this week. One stop at the end of that game. By the human piece of burnt toast. One stop, and it's not entirely his fault. We'll get into that. People have been a little harsh on him, but they swapped roles. The defense couldn't get it done in crunch time. No sacks. They just swapped roles, and it's frustrating because that's what the Jaguars have always been known for. They'll figure out one side of the ball. As soon as they figure that out, the other side of the ball falls apart. And like I said, I've said many times, they're cursed. Yeah, they're just cursed.
Yeah. So for me, it's interesting with T-Law. Yeah, I like that he was efficient, and I'm okay with that. Like I'm fine with you checking down. If again, I've talked about this before. Tom Brady isn't known for being the side that throws the bomb every time. He can, and he has in the past, especially with Randy Moss. But he's more or less let me get to the guy right there, just past the line, and he's going to make something happen. And he's got a couple rings to show for that, and I'm okay with that. But I don't want Trevor to be too hesitant on throwing the deep ball because last week, the week before, he was horrible with any ball that went past like 10 yards, 15 yards. They just soared past the wide receivers. So I'm not saying that's the case, but I just hope we don't get to the point where he's scared of throwing the ball. He's obviously not scared to run the ball. He fumbled the ball several times last week, but that didn't keep him from running the ball against the Colts, which was nice to see him do that. He was efficient on the ground, getting 2 touchdowns.
If Trevor's going to be a game manager, because that's what you saw a very good game management sort of performance from a quarterback on the field. If he's going to do that, he's got to do that every week. The game manager QBs that have won a Super Bowl do that consistently, and they don't have those games where they give up for turnovers for whatever reason. But it's just it's hard. The long-term outlook on Trevor Lawrence is still up in the air, but it's hard to have much like animosity towards Trevor Lawrence and the offense for what happened on Sunday, right? Like all of my rage is focused on the defense.
Okay, so T-Law, we'll give him a so-so performance. You got touchdowns on the ground. I'm not too happy with the yards, but we'll take the fewer yards, but the fewer interceptions. ETN, I just wanted to highlight him. I think 2 weeks in a row, man, he is performing the way that we were hoping he would perform when we drafted him in the first round. Again, I would if we were to do the draft again, I still wouldn't draft him in the first round where he was at. That's just me. I'm not sure who I would, but I know at the time I thought it was a horrible pick. But he's starting to show what he can do, man. 10 carries for 86 yards, almost 9 yards a clip. That's great, and 2 receptions for 22 yards. So the guy is flashing what we were hoping he could do.
Yeah, and you know, he had a very solid game. He didn't make any mistakes. He you know, he did another performance where good performance, no touchdowns, but I think the team scored. And, you know, I think Doug Peterson runs this sort of offense where it's not necessarily focused on one player getting all the scores and all the touchdowns, right? It's about each player helping move the ball down the field, and whoever scores based on the opportunity that the defense presents to them. But ETN looked great, you know, and I've you know, had my concerns and complaints about him, but you know, I don't know, dude did his job and he looked good doing it on the field. So.
Yeah. James Robinson, he had 12 carries for 54 yards, so he averaged over 4 yards a carry, which is, you're a good running back if you can do that. So I'll take that. Not much else to say on the ground game. I think the receiving. I love Evan Ingram. Every week I talk about him, but I'm just so excited as a Jaguars fan to have a legitimate pass catching tight end. It's just
he looks better he seems to look better every week.
And he's reliable. He's so reliable, and that's huge for Trevor Lawrence and his growth. You know, he could throw it to Evan Ingram, and Evan Ingram is going to make something happen. Now 5 receptions of 40 yards doesn't seem like a lot, but when your quarterback only throws for 165, that's actually pretty good.
Well, but there were some catches also that were, you know, that kept drives alive by Ingram, right? Like he had some catches that were in those 5 that were, and you know, there have been more games than not where no Jaguars tight end had any catches for any yards, right?
Yeah.
Like we have, you know, God love Mercedes Lewis. He was a pass blocking tight end, right? Like he was good, but he wasn't an elite. We've not really had, you know, at least for not a long time, an elite level or even very good tight end. So it's just nice to see a tight end competently contributing to the Jaguars being successful on offense.
Yeah. Yes, I completely agree. He might be my favorite player on offense outside of Trevor Lawrence. Again, that's probably just because I've been starving for a decent tight end as a Jaguars fan. It's just finally to see, like, it's 2022. We finally caught up to the year 2000 of the NFL, right? Because tight ends.
Yeah, for me, it's a time. My 2 favorites are House Call Jamal and James Robinson. Dude, I love a good running back. Fred Taylor is my favorite player of all time. So, you know. I'm a big fan of running backs, and you know, especially with the way the league sort of treats them now, where they're a dime a dozen, and you know, but yeah, they had running backs on the ground had a good. Christian Kirk, where's our, you know, $1 billion man, Christian Kirk? Like,
well, he got us 6 points. He did get a touchdown, and
true.
We'll
it just didn't feel he feels like the Josh Allen of the offense, where sometimes it's like, oh, he's on the field? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You know, I forgot.
Well, I know the week before he was more of a, like, he just kept on getting double teamed, right? And so you know, if that means that someone else is going to catch a ball, I'll take it. But I would like, I think you're alluding to, we want to see more out of him, and I agree. I want to see more out of him, even if you are getting double teamed. And I hate saying this, like, you're paid to be that guy. Like, I hate saying that.
For as much money as Christian Kirk is making, and for the talent that we're told he has, he's a dude that needs to be able to beat a double team every now and then. He's got to find a way to get open, right? You know, so it's I know that's you, Matt Briggs, Texans by 50. We're not even playing the Texans this week. Get out of here.
Texans, where? Oh my gosh. Okay.
Some comments coming in from the Zay Jones. I mean, Zay, it's weird. Zay Jones seems to have the opposite effect on the offense that Shaquille Griffin does on the defense. When he's playing, they just seem to do better. Even when he's not necessarily getting a ton of yards, like or catches for something. It's weird. And I don't know, you know, correlation doesn't equal causation, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily mean that that's why, but it's just a weird sort of coincidence. The times where Zay Jones has not been in the lineup have been some of the least impressive offensive performances the Jags have had so far.
Right. Well, I think that's about it for the offense. Before we move on to the defense, I do want to say support for the Jaguars brought to you by the Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Their products are precision engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's performance package, the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. What's that offer, you say? It's 20% off your entire order as well as free shipping worldwide. Um, insert fan battle at manscaped.com and you'll get your 20% off and free worldwide shipping.
Yeah, I don't understand why you wouldn't get stuff for cheap and not have to pay for it to be shipped to you. If you've mailed anything the last few weeks, you know that the price of mailing anything goes up. Has gone up just like everything else. So take advantage of it. Manscaped,
Yeah.
we appreciate them for sponsoring the show.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the focus of my rage for this week. Where would you like to begin?
Let's just, you know what? I'm just going to let you.
Let me just start by saying Shaquille Griffin seems like a very nice man. Like, honestly, when I went to training camp and I've seen him interact with people, he seems like the sort of player that you want to have on your team from just a human being standpoint, right? And there were a lot of comments about Shaq Griffin by a lot of people that were just out of line, right? So just please take everything I'm about to say not as a commentary on Shaq Griffin, the human being. It is only a commentary on his performance on Sunday. And it was epic levels of bad, right? Historic levels of bad. It was plain as day to me watching the TV broadcast that the Indianapolis Colts knew where he was every time, and that's where that Matt Ryan was planning to throw every single time that Shaq Griffin was on the field. Some people have said that apparently he traditionally has been a zone cover guy and is not really a press cover QB. And if he was put into press coverage and man-on-man coverage, then shame on the coaching staff. And I don't watch film. I'm not smart enough or well versed enough to tell you if the scheme was bad and put him in a position to not be successful, or if he just couldn't do the job he was asked to do. I don't know, but Shaq Griffin, he got roasted, man. He got roasted by several different receivers. When he did have one pass breakup towards the end, it was either on the last drive or the next to last drive. That was a pretty good play. But other than that, like he just didn't play well. And I don't think it was for lack of trying. Some people have tried to say, I believe he's the sort of the highest paid player either on the defense or maybe on the whole team. So it didn't strike me as a performance where he just didn't care. It struck me more as like he was just getting outclassed and outmatched, and you could see it on that touchdown that sealed the deal. He's on the ground pounding the ground. He's so angry that he got burned. Like it's not it's not for lack of wanting to. He just wasn't good. There's nothing else to say about it. But if you attack that man personally or send him social media messages threatening him or saying just dumb things, I think that's stupid. Don't be stupid. Jag fans, take out your football disappointment, on things in the correct way. Don't be an idiot. But yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot to say. I hope he plays better, but I will say, shades of Jalen Ramsey. All of a sudden, he's on the injury report with a back issue. So will he play next week? I don't know. I wouldn't hate it if he didn't. The defense has played better in the two games that he missed, or it was like a game and a half that he missed. I know he didn't play in the game against the Chargers, and the defense had a great day. But as much as this was on Shaq Griffin, the rest of the defense sucked also. Like they were not good all day. And I just think it's frustrating. This was more frustrating to me than the Texans game. I don't know why. I just felt more aggravated by the loss than the Texans loss.
I don't know. The Texans was at home, right? Wasn't that the one that you went and melted?
Because I don't know, man. I just felt like, Trayvon Walker made a comment about, Matt Ryan before the game. I was trying to think what day it was, but I don't remember. He said basically Matt Ryan was a sitting duck, and he got to Matt Ryan exactly once and basically punched him in the head. Uh, he disappeared. I just don't understand. I don't understand how. I can't figure out what happened. So I have two thoughts on it, on the defense in general. Either they got figured out, teams have enough tape on them, and they figured out what the Jags were doing defensively that was effective in the first handful of games, or either that or Fotokasi in the middle. Apparently, him being injured, since he got injured, the defense has played terribly. And apparently he's some sort of linchpin. I was listening to somebody's podcast. I think it was the First and Teal podcast. And their theory is that Fotokasi, even though he doesn't play the same position, is like much like Paul Puzzlesny. Paul Puzzlesny wasn't the fastest guy. He wasn't the most talented guy, but he was the brains. He was the quarterback of the defense when he was out there. And when he was out there to make plays, the defense played better. And I think Fotokasi is one of those guys where he's able to help people know where they're supposed to be. We got a comment from Josh Senior. Yeah, a lot of people thought that. I didn't necessarily think that because Josh Senior, I know that the Jags suck. And they always find a way to suck. The one thing that the Jags are good at is finding a way to not be good. So I was not nearly as confident as some folks were. I did think that the Jags would win, but I didn't think it was going to be easy. The Jags Colts rivalry, there's not really been a whole lot of easy games, even in the two streaks where Indy has won a bunch at home and the Jags have won a bunch at home. Not all of those games have been layup easy games, right? They usually play each other pretty tough. But shout out to Josh Senior for listening. Appreciate you, man. I hate that your team won, but at least you got some happiness out of Sunday, so that makes me happy.
It's a real rivalry that's being overshadowed. I'm looking at the salary. Just want to touch base on the salary real quick. Shaquille Griffin has the biggest cap number at $16.4 million this year.
Crazy.
His guaranteed
I had no
salary
idea.
is 11.5.
Yeah, it's wild.
I had no idea. I mean, obviously that'll change just because the way the Christian Kirk's contract is structured.
Yeah. As time goes on, Christian Kirk will naturally
$1.5 million. So he'll clearly make more money over the next few years than Griffin. But still, Griffin's being paid right now to be better. And it's interesting, if you didn't watch the game and you were just looking at stats specifically, I mean, Shaquille Griffin, he had 9 total tackles, 7 solo, 2 tackles for loss, 2 passes defended. You'd think that's a pretty solid stat line if you didn't watch it.
Yeah, so tackles are a deceiving stat. I've always said that. Tackles aren't necessarily, if you're getting a lot of tackles, that could mean that you're getting burned a lot, or you're out of position a lot, or they're throwing at you a lot, or coming at you a lot. Not always, but sometimes. Josh Senior chiming in. I was depressed after the Thursday night game, so scoring over 12 was my Super Bowl. Listen, I think sometimes, I feel that. I understand, because sometimes the Jags winning, you got to celebrate the wins. I was pretty obnoxious to people when the Jags had won those 2 games.
We earned it. We earned that right.
Listen, that sometimes that's all we get, folks. Like that's all we have. So I've got to live it up while I can. I just think the defense. I don't understand how. I don't understand how Josh Allen can be an alleged superstar and disappear in games. Like, the man was, other than he had one hit towards the end that I think would have been a sack, but was called back, or either Matt Ryan got the ball right before he hit him. I forget. Right. There were no sacks. He did, he's another guy where it's just sometimes you forget he's in the game. He's like, oh yeah, I forgot you were playing today.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't be. Like, he's another high draft pick. Nobody else on the defense, people love this Gotsis guy, Adam Gotsis, and I don't see it. I don't get it. He's fine, but he's not good.
Yeah.
And then, you got Trayvon Walker, who I my worry with Trayvon Walker is that he's a bonehead.
Yeah.
Right? And he's just one of these dudes that, like, can't keep his. And people were like, "Oh, the passer, or the roughing the passer call wasn't a good call." It was absolutely a good call. He didn't get flagged because he whacked the guy in the head the first time. Go back and watch the tape. Go back and watch it. He hits Matt Ryan in the head as he's rushing, and as Matt Ryan's falling, he takes his hand and he whacks him again.
Yeah.
Then you see the referee throw the flag.
Yeah.
It was the second time he whacked Matt Ryan that got him in trouble. If he had just run through him and his hands were up like they were, I don't think they call that flag, because it clearly wasn't incidental. Or it clearly was incidental. It wasn't him purposely, but it was as soon as his hand came down and whacked I hope so, Josh Senior. The Jags are a team to watch for in 2 years. Yeah, I mean it's I think I respect the Colts too. The Colts obviously have a much richer tradition of winning than the Jags. And I think Matt Ryan in that game showed what has made him so good in the past, right? Like Matt Ryan figured out exactly what he needed to do to just, set the Jags defense on fire. Because they didn't, the Colts ran a little bit, but they didn't really run all that effectively. Like they weren't doing that great.
They didn't run. They didn't run at all. The Colts
they had a couple runs towards the end,
a couple
that
right.
were instrumental, but they didn't rack up a bunch of yards.
No,
they didn't rack up.
They
a
only
bunch
put up
of,
45 yards.
Yeah, so it wasn't. But again, there were a lot of players out, and that doesn't mean it should have been an easy win, but
No.
it was a winnable game.
Right.
It was absolutely a winnable game, and again, it comes down to penalties, and they just can't. I don't know, man. They just can't put it together, and it's so frustrating.
What's frustrating for me is what happened. What happened is what I said we can't let happen. Last week I said, let this not be the game where Matt Ryan figures it out.
Well,
guess what, man? Matt Ryan figured it out. 42 completions, 58 attempts on 389 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks, 0 sacks. I mean, the guy just lit us up.
The Jaguars letting quarterbacks on the tail end of their career have record games is a long-standing tradition that we have. Phillip Rivers, both when he was with the Chargers and the Colts had big games against us. There's so many.
Except Dan Marino. We have that.
Man,
we have
that's
that.
Dude, is it sad that I watched that game not too long ago? I found it on YouTube and I was like, oh, I'm watching that. That's back in the glory days.
We need some joy in our life every now and then.
16 attempts, but the backfield, yep. I hope that my fear is that James Robinson is not going to be happy with
his workload.
Yeah. And James Robinson doesn't seem like the type of guy that's going to vocally say like, hey, trade me. He just seems like the sort of dude that will do what he's asked. He'll ride it out. He'll be a good teammate, a good player. And then as soon as he can hit that free agent market, my fear is that he's going to bounce.
Yeah.
And to an extent, can't necessarily blame him, but I do also hope they keep him. They're able to keep those two together. And I hope they're able to figure out how to use them in the scheme that Peterson likes to run.
That's the key, figuring out how to utilize their talents in a productive way for all three, for the team, and then each individual player. Like how we figured it out with when we had Freddie T and Mojo, right? Like we figured out how to use those two effectively.
Yep.
It was sad to see him go. I think was his next. It was sad to see Freddie T go to the Pats, right?
Yeah, he went to the Patriots. Yep.
Yeah.
But I think Mojo played for the Raiders or something.
Raiders, yeah. And his injuries, but no, I hope to see them. But I mean, if unfortunately, and I hate seeing this, but like the running back position has just been so the perceived value of the position has just gone down so much. But I think part of it's because you see these, next year you can draft somebody in the 6th round and he'll be a stud, right? So it's like, I would anticipate Robinson leaving once his contract comes up, unless he just feels, he's here for the team. And
I think how successful they are over the course of the year is going to tell the tale there, right? Winning cures a lot of ills. So, you feel a little less bad about your workload if your team's successful and you're making a run in the playoffs than you would if you end up, 2-15 to close out the year or something crazy like that. So
how crazy was it to see Philip Lindsay out on the field?
Weird. Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah.
I mean, he only got 7 yards on 3 carries, but man, it sucked. Michael Pittman Jr., man, that guy, 13 catches for 134 yards.
Listen, the Colts receivers are legit, dude. Like they showed that they're, I know a lot of Titans fans were chirping at the Colts fans and the big fan battle group saying that Pittman wasn't a wide receiver 1. I just don't think that's the case. Like clearly, that man has some talent, and then the other receiver wasn't he Pierce or something? I forget what's the other guy's name.
Pierce is one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, Pierce, the dude who scored the touchdown at the end.
Mhm.
You know, clearly they've got some talent there, right?
Yeah.
So I think their big question, you know, I know Colts fans are upset with their coach, but I think their big question is how do they solve their long-term quarterback
Yeah.
issue, right? Because even if Matt Ryan stays, you know, or has a good year, he's got a year or two maybe left in him, you would think. You know, so you know, yeah, I agree. You got Josh Senior says Ballard finally drafted some good wide receivers, 100%. You know, maybe the Jags will figure out how to do that one day. You know, God love the law firm of Jones, and Kirk, but right now, you know, they're not world beaters, but they don't need to be. I guess that's what's to me. I guess I do take a little bit of solace in the fact they don't have to be world beaters, right? If they can just do what they did on Sunday from an offensive perspective consistently, and then the defense can sort of get its head around whatever they need to do. I don't know, man. I feel like they could be good enough to make a run to try to make it to the playoffs.
Yeah. You know, I'll give you some silver linings for the game as horrible as it is today to relive the debacle, in my opinion, that happened on Sunday. First off, it was 34-27, so it was actually pretty close. As horrible as I felt during the game and how bad it felt after, we were still within a touchdown of at least tying it. Also, we scored 27 points. Last year, I think we averaged like 3 for the whole year. So it's like we're putting up, like, even in our bad games and games that I feel like we could pick apart for hours on end, we still we're putting up the point. Like we're making progress. Now, I think as us fans, especially, and we talked about this the pre-show, is that those first couple weeks, you know, coming into the season, we had expectations of being bad but progressing, right? But then those first couple weeks were like, whoa, we just blanked the Colts. Wow, we just blanked the Chargers at the Chargers. What? Right? And so all of a sudden our expectations and, you know, go soaring, right? And I think it was, at least to me, I felt it was legitimate just because what they were putting out on the field consistently, right, for a couple weeks. And now all of a sudden we haven't necessarily regressed extremely because, again, like I said, we're putting up 27 points. We're doing good. We're doing better in pretty much all areas of our team. We're just not being as consistent. And you kind of said that, like, one week our offense is great and our defense is bad, and the next week it's a coin flip on who's going to be bad, right? But so
I blame the Jags social media to a certain extent because the Jags social media team is excellent, and they made some hype videos after those 2 wins that got me ready to run through a wall.
That's true.
You know, and I blame them a little bit. Like, stop doing that to me. Like, just quit it.
So what? Now what, man?
Yeah.
That pumps me up. Now it's like, now what?
I'm sharing it on, you know, like Facebook and Twitter and showing all my friends, you know,
You sent it
and
to me.
getting hyped up. Yeah, since you, bro. I'm like, bro, you gotta watch this video.
Yeah.
You know, and then all for them to just fall on their face. But anyway, you're talking about silver linings, and I interrupted you.
Yeah, no. I'm just saying, like, because I'll be honest, at the end of the game, and I don't know about you, but there is no nap that hits like your Sunday afternoon nap, right? Like it's just great, right? But I watched the whole game, because I wanted to be ready for today's show, but also I'm a Jaguars fan and we've had some good outings. And at the end of the game, I was just like, man, I would have rather just taken a nap than watch all that nonsense. But now that I've had a couple days to kind of climb a little bit out of my depression, again, we put up 27 points. We were within a touchdown. I mean, a loss is a loss is a loss is a loss. Like we still lost.
So I have a rule,
but we're progressing, and I think that's important.
I agree. And I think there's a little bit of evidence of that in the fact that I have a rule. So I record all the games, right? I have YouTube TV, so I record the games. I can go back and watch them whenever I want. If the Jags go down by 21 points at any point in time, I'm like, okay, do I have to watch this or can I just watch it later? Right. Like I don't need to watch a baby seal get clubbed over and over again every week. I do that a little less since we started the show, but I've never had to, that rule has never gone into effect this season. Whereas by this time last season, it had already gone into effect 3 or 4 times. If you had told, I think you're right. It's all about managing people's expectations, which sounds terrible. What a boring thing to say about being a fan of a football team, right?
Right.
But if I had told, if someone had come to me and said, "Hey, after week 6, your team would have been, they'll be 2-4, and you have they would have had a legitimate chance to be 4-2." Because they really did. Like a couple swings of play, they had a legitimate chance to actually be 4-2. I probably would have said, "Heck yeah, man, let's go. I'm ready." Like that sounds great. But having those two big wins and then ending up where we are, it's sort of, I don't know. It dampened it a little bit, but I just think there is potential. Hopefully, there will be. Um, yeah. Josh Senior says the Colts need to draft a QB from the 2023 class and stop looking at trade from other teams. I think yeah, it's weird. It's the weird trend that the Colts have had of picking up QBs from other teams, sort of cast offs from other teams has been kind of odd. Hopefully you guys won't end up with like Baker Mayfield if he doesn't make it with the Panthers. But let's talk about the Giants. What do you think about the Giants game? I don't know. I'm torn.
Well, Vegas has us winning. Even though the Giants are coming in, they're what, 5-1, if I'm correct, right?
Is it possible that the Jags have bamboozled Vegas?
I don't know.
I just don't know how you get there. I don't know how you get to that. I don't know how you get to that conclusion.
Well, if you look at we lost to the Colts, we lost to the Texans. Those are interdivision teams, right? And so those are, for the most part, doesn't matter how good each team is. Those are typically toss up coin flip games, anyways, just because you're so familiar with the other team that even in a down year, even in a year where one team could be going to the playoffs by just beating them.
Yeah,
the Jaguars,
I just look at the Giants
like
and how well they've been playing. It's just weird to me to think that we would be favored over that team.
I don't know. As dysfunctional as the Jaguars have been, I think the Giants have been as dysfunctional, if not more, over the past several years. And so I think maybe that comes into play a little bit. There's not as much belief in Danny Dimes as there is with T-Law.
Yep.
And I think Saquon Barkley is having a good year. I haven't looked at his stats.
Saquon Barkley's a grown man. That's the way I'd phrase it. Like that dude is going off, and good for him, man. Like he got injured that first season. He came into the league, and I don't know why he's been a player I sort of was rooting for. I remember when the Giants played the Jags that year that he came into the league. And thinking what a shame that he was injured. I don't want him to have a good day on Sunday. Don't get me wrong, but Danny Dimes versus Sunshine is what it's going to be. I honestly, people are going to tell me I'm too cynical. I think the Giants are going to win. I think it's going to be like a 24-17. I'm not confident that the offense and the defense can put it together and not, and get out of their own way on Sunday. I just don't see it.
Well, I think this is going to be. I think this is going to be one of the San Diego Chargers of LA. I think it's going to be like the Chargers game or the Colts game in Jacksonville, where we just boat race them. That's what I think is going to happen.
I hope you're right.
Well, it's just going to be one of those games that the Jaguars, hey, let's just put it all together. What do you guys think about that? Maybe we can all just do.
That's what I said about the Texans game, and look where that got us. So I'm not going to make that prediction.
Yeah,
I think I've been jinxing the Jags, so I'm going to predict them to lose every week.
Well, I was a little weary on the Texans, just because the Texans have had our number, kind of like we've had the Colts number for several years now. But I feel like we're going to get it with the Giants. I mean, just looking at the stats right now, head to head, points per game, Jaguars are averaging 23, where the Giants are averaging 21.2.
Yeah.
Points allowed. Now, this is the key: is we allow 19, they allow 18.8. So that's not a huge difference. We're averaging more yards per game, about the same as yards allowed. So
they're very evenly matched, I feel like, and I think that's maybe why.
Well, they beat Baltimore and they beat Green Bay. Both of those teams are pretty sus right now. They beat Chicago, who's horrible. They lost to Dallas, and they beat Carolina by a field goal. So,
yeah, I just think the Giants have found a way to put wins together where the Jags have not.
Yeah.
And well, I mean, any given Sunday. That's why that phrase is a real thing, right? Like
Right.
anything can happen. So, yeah, I don't know what else there is to say. I guess we'll see what we see on
I mean,
Sunday, and we'll either be very happy next week, or we'll be back here in the same sort of apathetic, numb to the world place that we're in now.
well, my prediction is the Jaguars, like I said, we're going to boat race them. I'd say 34-6.
34. Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong. I hope you're right, but I guess we'll see. So
Well, because I don't believe in Danny Dimes. Like I'm not a believer in him. His wide receiver core has not done anything to like stand out to make me believe in them, right? So but like you said, they've won, and that's all that matters is they've got the W next to their games, and we've got the L's. But I think this, like I said, we're just gonna Jaguars are for some reason gonna be like, hey, we're just gonna turn on this game and figure it out. Okay, guys, cool. And I hate to say that, but I feel like that's just the way the Jaguars are gonna be. They're either gonna get it all right, or they're just gonna fail miserably in one
yeah,
factor or
I
another.
mean, yeah, I'll take any win I can get anyway
Yeah,
they can get it.
for
So,
sure. For
we'll
sure.
see.
What do you think? What do you think the score is going to be?
Oh, I think 24-17 Giants. I really think it's going to be one of those. I think the Giants are going to figure out a way. Yeah, I hate to say it, like I take no joy in saying that, but I just think the Giants are going to do what they've done in the other games. They're just going to figure out a way to do just enough to win. And
Yeah.
I don't think the Jags have given me no hope that that's what they'll accomplish yet. So I hope they
Well,
prove me
right
wrong.
now the Jaguars have opened up in Vegas. Now in Vegas, there's a lot of money made in Vegas because they know what they're doing, and they've got
Right.
the Jaguars by 3 right now.
Yeah, we'll see. I hope Vegas is correct. So we'll see what happens. All right. Anything else we want to cover before we go?
Yeah, real quick, just for everybody's watching this, we're
Oh,
going to
that's
be
right.
giving it away. What are we giving away? We're going to be giving away gift cards for each of our social media accounts. We're on all the socials.
Yep, you can
All
see
we
them
need you to do is
right over
go.
there.
Yeah, they're over there. Yeah. Go follow those, subscribe, like, post, comment. If you want to donate us money, just let me know and I will gladly take your money. But all we're asking you to do is to like or subscribe, depending on the platform. And once we hit 1,000 subscribers / followers / likes or whatever for each platform will get a giveaway of a $25 gift card.
Yep.
So, and again, all you have to do is go like or subscribe. That takes a couple clicks.
You don't even have to watch our dumb show. Just go to our social media.
No, you don't even have to watch this. You don't have to know who I am. You don't have to know what this is for.
I don't even care if you're a Jags fan. Just spread our show around and help us out.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe.
It would
as
be
they say.
greatly appreciated. But yeah, that's it. Any other thoughts, notes, ideas, jokes for you?
Nope, I got nothing other than hope I'm wrong about the Jags, but we'll see. We'll see you next week on the week 7 edition of the Jaguar.
Yeah, I hope I'm not as sad as I was this week. So, but anyways, thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you next time.